I was in an arranged marriage with James Hall for 3 years. He was always cruel to me. After an accident where I saved his grandfather from drowning and nearly died myself, I woke up in the hospital room. Mr. Hall sat by my bed and said I could ask for anything. He would grant any wish. I looked at James, who was standing off to the side, his face a cold mask. I want to, with James. Seeing the disgust flash in his eyes, I forced out the last word. Divorce. This time, I'm setting you free. You must be so happy. After another temporary mark, I sat up in bed, my head slowly clearing from the dizzying haze. My gland was swollen and burning. James's voice sounded muffled, like it was coming from underwater, and I couldn't quite make out the words, but it was easy to sense the mockery in his tone. One temporary mark. That should be enough for you to report back, right? I tilted my head up, a faint smile pulling at my lips. Yeah, thanks. Can you come home for dinner this week? My dad wants to see you. James raised an eyebrow, a flicker of disgust in his eyes. Does he want to see me, or the project proposal in my hands? A cruel smile played on his lips. He suddenly reached out and grabbed my face, forcing me to meet his gaze. Tell him not to be so desperate. After all, he sold his only son to me. A single project is nothing. I'm not above letting him have it. The bedroom was thick with the suffocating scent of his alpha pheromones, making it hard to breathe. He was angry. I calmly lowered my eyes. Okay, I get it. I'll tell him. It was like punching a pillow. James couldn't stand my spineless, submissive act, so he got up and stormed out, slamming the door. I leaned against the headboard, my hand touching the deep teeth marks on my gland. I couldn't help but wonder how James and I had ended up like this. After all, we used to be such good friends. Back when I wasn't an omega, a beta implanted with an artificial omega gland, pushed into an arranged marriage. I didn't refuse. But for James, it was a clear betrayal. Yes, a betrayal. A betrayal of our genuine friendship. In his eyes, I must be a duplicitous, selfish, cold-hearted person who would do anything for personal gain. If I'd had a choice, I never would have done this. That weekend, I went to my parents' house. Alone. My father was displeased. Why didn't James come back with you? Did you do something to make him angry again? I had to fight back a smirk. It wasn't that I did something wrong. He gets angry no matter what I do. But I kept my voice respectful. He's busy. He asked me to tell you that the contract for the West Side development can be signed next week. My father's expression finally softened. Sit down and eat, he grunted. The table was laden with a lavish spread. It was late autumn, and the king crabs on the platter were huge and glistened invitingly. But I'm allergic to crab. In our family, only my brother likes crab. Just looking at them made my whole body start to itch. My gland was especially bad. I reached up and scratched it. Remember to get your gland checked this afternoon, my father said. Don't let anything go wrong. I put a mouthful of rice in my mouth. It was tasteless. I nodded. My brother was sitting there, waiting for the maid to peel his crab for him. Hearing our father, he sneered, a mediocre beta. This is all you're good for. I didn't argue. After dinner, I went to my father's study for the usual lecture. It was all about how to please James, of course. Bored, I stared at the asparagus fern on his desk. It was my mom's favorite plant. Finally, I asked next week, can I go see my mom? As expected, he refused. Spend more time with James. Stop thinking about pointless things. I wasn't surprised. I left the room. He knows the only reason I let him control me like this is because of my mother. I'm like one of Pavlov's dogs. He just has to ring the bell, and I'll always come running, ready to obey. Are you coming home for dinner tonight? I texted James as I left my parents' house. No reply. I guess that meant no. In our years of marriage, you could count the number of times he'd come home for dinner on one hand. After my checkup at the hospital, my doctor, Sam, asked if I wanted to grab a bite. I hadn't had much of an appetite at my parents' place anyway and had lost the will to cook. So I agreed. Sam was my primary physician, and we'd eventually become friends. He was one of the few people I could really open up to. He hadn't said much at the hospital earlier. While we were waiting for our food, I saw him hesitating, and I had a feeling I knew why. Is there something wrong with my gland? Sam nodded. You mentioned it's been red and itchy lately, right? I took a look, and it's showing some signs of rejection. For the next week, it's best to avoid any marking or similar activities. I was about to answer, but someone tapped twice on the floor-to-ceiling window beside me. I turned my head. I was staring right into James's dark eyes. A 2-second silence. I decisively stood up and walked outside. What are you doing here? Having fun out here? James's tone was dripping with sarcasm. Might as well not even bother coming home. You weren't coming home, so there was no point in me eating alone. Did I say I wasn't coming home for dinner? Does no reply automatically mean no? God, he's being so unreasonable. This is infuriating. But I forced a smile. I'm sorry. Should I go home and make you dinner now? No thanks. I'm not planning on eating pig slop. Let's go. I swallowed my pride and followed behind James. He acts like my cooking is worthless, but when I actually make something, he never seems to eat any less of it. Such a hypocrite. Once in the car, I quickly texted Sam to apologize. He was very understanding. No worries, I get it. Your alpha's a tyrant. It's best not to cross him. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. James shot me a sideways glance. I immediately wiped the expression off my face and put my phone away. He didn't say a word, just radiated a low-pressure storm all the way home. As I was changing my shoes in the entryway, a hand suddenly grabbed the back of my neck and slammed me against the wall. The mark is fading. We have to go to Grandpa's for dinner tomorrow. Let's renew it. His grip was strong. I struggled, but it was useless. Sam's words echoed in my head. For the next week, it's best to avoid any marking or similar activities. Wait, I yelled. Not today. Please, not today. Then when is a good time? The day your dad signs the contract? James's words were like icicles stabbing my heart. I froze, stopped struggling. I let him sink his canines into my gland. A sharp pain shot from the gland through my entire body. Whatever, I thought. I owe him this after all. I quickly boiled some plain noodles to fill my stomach, then buried myself under the covers and drifted into a groggy sleep. I took a few anti-inflammatories before bed, but I still woke up the next day with a low-grade fever. At least it was low. Today was our monthly dinner at the family estate. Couldn't miss it. As I was getting dressed in the walk-in closet, James looked at me through the mirror, his brow furrowed deeply. I thought the house was haunted. What a horrible thing to say, although my reflection did look pale and haggard, but it wasn't that bad. Clean yourself up. Don't go crying to my grandfather and playing the victim again. When did I ever cry to him? That time was clearly, never mind. He wouldn't believe me anyway. A driver from the estate came to pick us up. In the car, I felt cold all over, and my ears were ringing. I took some fever reducers and managed to hang on. James was next to me, his mouth opening and closing, his expression growing more and more impatient. I stared at him, trying hard to make out what he was saying, but my ears felt like they were stuffed with cotton. I couldn't hear a thing. I'm sorry, what did you say? Could you repeat that? I didn't sleep well last night. I was just dozing off. Stop making that pathetic face to look pitiful. Huh? And don't use that whiny tone. What face am I making? What tone am I using? Is something off? I watched him turn his face away. Can't be that bad. I probably just sound a little congested at most. When we got to the estate, the staff had already prepared a huge feast. A quick glance showed that almost all of my favorite dishes were on the table. As I pulled out a chair to sit, Grandpa Hall stopped me. Leo, you sit over there. The crab they want is on this end. You're allergic, you can't have any. We've got your favorites set up over there for you. I froze. Thank you, Grandpa. Someone remembered what I couldn't eat. And it was an elder I wasn't even related to by blood. My eyes started to burn, and I blinked hard, forcing the feeling back. James's mom was very enthusiastic, constantly turning the lazy Susan to put food on my plate. After missing a dish several times, James finally snapped, "Can you stop turning it?" His mom shot him a look. Who's to blame if your hands are too slow? James's resentment over his missed food lasted until dinner was over. Later, in the bedroom, he stared at my back and said sarcastically, sometimes I think you're their real son. Hey, I guess it makes sense. Sucking up to my family is way more effective than sucking up to me. I finished making the bed and turned around, replying without thinking, do you want me to suck up to you? James's face darkened instantly. He turned, walked into the bathroom, and slammed the door. I heard his muffled voice through it. Don't disgust me. Right after we got married, when my relationship with James hit rock bottom, I genuinely felt guilty. I suggested to Grandpa that we set a 3-year term, and then James and I would end the marriage. But Grandpa misunderstood and thought James was bullying me. And James misunderstood and thought I'd run to tattle on him. In the end, James got lectured by all the family elders. I was stuck in the middle, and our relationship got even worse. He told me to behave and stop playing hard to get. I couldn't get a word in to defend myself. Eventually, I just stopped bringing it up. The way we interact now is actually the most peaceful it's ever been. Even though he still throws sarcastic remarks at me sometimes. And even though, there's a demilitarized zone between us in bed. We each had our own corner of the comforter. The awkwardness hung heavy in the quiet air. To think, back in college, we used to squeeze onto a single bed. It's pretty wild how things have changed. I sighed and silently turned over. Suddenly, James spoke. I'm going on a business trip on Friday. The contract is ready. You can take it to your dad to sign. Silence. So, should I go get another blanket? It's a little cold. Shut up and go to sleep. James cut me off, then silently scooted a little closer. Friday afternoon, I grabbed the file and drove to my parents' house. I was standing outside my father's study, about to knock, when I heard voices from inside. Dad, you can't keep Leo from seeing his mom forever. He's gonna find out the truth one day. The truth? What truth? I lowered my hand, a terrible feeling rising in my chest. We'll drag it out as long as we can. His mother is dead. We have the ashes. I refuse to believe he won't take them back. My father snorted. There's always a way to handle that little bastard. My mind went completely blank at his words. An instant later, a sharp, twisting pain shot through my heart. The file in my hand fell to the floor. I clutched at my collar, sinking to my knees. Who's out there? My father's furious voice rang in my ears. Why wasn't I told someone was here? What am I paying you people for? Why does it hurt so much? My vision started to go black. Then I lost consciousness completely. When I opened my eyes again, the familiar smell of antiseptic filled my nose. All I could see was white. The side of the bed was empty. I pulled out the 4-needle and staggered to my feet. That's the scene James walked in on. He frowned and pushed me back onto the bed. Can you stop being crazy? Leave me alone. I have to get the ashes, I said, my eyes empty as I looked at him. Once I have them, you can take your revenge, divorce me, even kill me. I won't fight back. I'm begging you, James. It was the first time I had ever begged him for anything. James's hands lost their strength. I broke free and headed for the door. Just as my hand was about to touch the doorknob, a powerful force yanked me back. James pinned me to the bed, holding my arms and legs so I couldn't move. Can you just calm down for 1 second? Leo, when are you ever going to use your brain? What do you think you can do if you go over there right now? Do you really think you can get them back? James's brow was furrowed, his words merciless. You can't even break free from me. Taking on 2 alphas? You're dreaming. I stared blankly at James, my struggles slowly ceasing. I'll handle this. With that, James turned and left the room. I lay on the bed and slowly curled into a ball. For my mother's sake, I had entered into this calculated marriage with James, destroying nearly half of his life. But I never even got to see her one last time before she died. It was all for nothing. How could my life be such a failure? It felt like I was good for nothing but bringing misfortune to others. James brought back my mother's ashes. I locked myself in the bedroom for days, refusing to come out. James couldn't get me to listen, so he finally called Grandpa. You have to look forward, Leo. Let's go to the beach this week to clear our heads. We'll all go together. Will you promise Grandpa you'll come? I couldn't refuse Grandpa. Remembering that my mother's greatest wish had been to see the ocean, I nodded. The 3-day beach trip started off perfectly smoothly, but then disaster struck. A wave pulled Grandpa Hall out into the ocean. The old man was frail. Without a second thought, I jumped in after him. I heard James shouting for me to stop. The water was bone-chillingly cold, and my limbs went numb almost instantly. I struggled to hold up a body that felt as heavy as my own, feeling my strength slowly drain away. Maybe I really do only bring bad luck to people. If it all ends here, that wouldn't be so bad. I pushed Grandpa toward the shore, then closed my eyes. I let myself sink into the sea until the last sliver of consciousness faded away. I never thought I'd survive. A tearing pain ripped through my lungs and throat. I forced my eyes open and found myself surrounded by people. When Grandpa Hall saw I was awake, he rushed to my bedside to ask how I was. I shook my head, trying to reassure him. This child, how could you be so reckless? I'm an old man, it wouldn't matter if I was gone. You're so young, how could you? Grandpa's face was filled with heartache. Leo, make a wish. Grandpa will grant you anything. You like studying plants, don't you? How about we open a flower nursery? I lowered my gaze, a thought flashing through my mind. Looking at James, who had been standing by silently the whole time, I moved my lips. I want to. With James? You want James to spend more time with you? You two got married in such a rush, you didn't even have a honeymoon. I'll make him take a vacation to be with you. A complex emotion flickered in James's eyes. He probably found the idea disgusting. After all, he hadn't even wanted to get married, let alone go on a honeymoon. But don't worry, you'll be free soon. I spoke the last word. Divorce. It was like a bomb had gone off. The moment those words left my mouth, everyone in the hospital room froze. Divorce? Grandpa's expression was one of pure shock. Silly child, why are you suddenly talking about divorce? Did James bully you again? That boy has a sharp tongue, but he doesn't have a bad heart. He was the one who went in and pulled you. I cut Grandpa off. No, it's not that. He didn't bully me. It's my fault. My mind raced, trying to figure out how to take all the blame so James wouldn't be criticized. Finally, I choked out. I fell in love with someone else. I've fallen for someone else, and I don't want to hold James back. It's all my fault. I'm sorry. Silence. A dead, still silence. After what felt like an eternity, Grandpa finally found his voice, trembling. Well, a divorce requires both parties to agree. What does James think? James hadn't said a word, but his gaze was terrifyingly dark. From the corner of my eye, I could see he had been staring at me the whole time, as if trying to figure out what new trick I was pulling. Or maybe like he wanted to swallow me whole. I just kept my head down, picking at my fingers, playing the part of a guilty man. A few seconds later, I heard him let out an almost inaudible scoff. He said he's in love with someone else. What am I supposed to do? Disagree and wait for him to cheat on me? Divorce. I agree. Leo, you better not regret this. With that, James turned and left the hospital room. I didn't want to drag things out. I wanted to file the divorce papers on the day I was discharged. But Grandpa kept insisting I needed to recover first, that there was no rush. I knew he was hoping there was still a chance for James and me to reconcile. So, over the next few days, I often saw him in the backyard on the phone with James, telling him to come home and make up with me, not to be stubborn. You're an alpha, for God's sake. Isn't it your job to coddle your husband a little? Keep this up, and you'll lose him for good. Then you'll see how you feel. After 2 beeps, James hung up. Grandpa Hall was so angry he started banging his cane on the ground. I quietly slipped away, a bitter taste in my mouth. Of course, there was no chance of James and me getting back together. We were 2 mismatched pieces of a broken mirror from the start. How could we ever fit together again? But I would never tell Grandpa that. He was old. He couldn't handle that kind of shock. It's better to just end it here. My body was slowly recovering, but I hadn't seen a trace of James for almost a month. It was as if he was so ecstatic about getting rid of me that he'd completely stopped coming home. Was that really necessary? He could at least wait until after the divorce was final to celebrate. I couldn't get in touch with James. My texts to him vanished into a black hole. I had no choice but to tell Sam the news. And while I was at it, I scheduled the surgery to have my omega gland removed. I was never suited to be an omega. I'm not delicate or romantic. I'm terrible at sweet-talking people. In fact, I have a talent for effortlessly making James angry. I am not a hothouse rose. No amount of pretending would ever make me one. So you finally made up your mind? Sam said while examining me. I thought you two would be tangled up for a lifetime. No way. I never wanted to marry him in the first place. If it wasn't for… Sam's hand stilled, and his expression darkened. About your aunt. I'm so sorry for your loss. It's okay. It's in the past now, I said, patting his shoulder to comfort him. I'm about to get this gland removed and start fresh, right? So what are your plans? I'm thinking of going back to grad school, maybe study botany. I don't know. Just do all the things I've always wanted to do. I support you. Sam scheduled my surgery for the following week. In the meantime, I started researching universities online. I was most interested in a school in Fairview, a city almost 1,000 miles from Auden City. Right before the surgery, I sent James another message. I'm getting ready to leave Auden City. If you have time, come back so we can get divorced. As expected, no reply. Just before I turned off my phone, I thought I saw the lock screen flash. But Sam called my name before I could see what the notification said. I quickly answered and put my phone in the locker. So I never saw James's reply. Who did you fall in love with? A moment later, the message was retracted, as if it had never been sent. Easy. I winced as Sam changed the dressing on my incision. He retorted without a shred of pity. Who's the one who couldn't resist that piece of fried chicken? You deserved to have it get inflamed. I'm about to be discharged. Can't you say something nice for a change? Sam sighed. Come on, I'll take you home. And you need to be careful at home. Don't let that mouth of yours get you into trouble. Sam was getting more and more naggy, but I knew he genuinely cared about me, and a smile crept onto my face. As I walked out of the hospital, a cold wind hit me, and I wrapped my coat tighter. I looked up. A black car was parked not far away. It looked familiar. It looked like James's car. As if summoned by my thoughts, the moment I looked over, the window rolled down. I met James's gaze from inside the car. He seemed a bit thinner, his hair a little longer, which only accentuated his already striking features. He just stared at me, like a vampire lurking in the shadows. I was hesitating about whether to go over, but James got out of the car first and started walking toward us. He lit a cigarette. Through the smoke, I saw his eyes narrow with a familiar, mocking glint. Well, aren't you two inseparable? His gaze fell on my hand, which was linked with Sam's arm. I instinctively pulled away. Now that you're free, you can run to the hospital every other day, whether you're sick or not. After all, your lover is here, isn't he? Sam couldn't take it anymore. I think you're the one who's sick. Leo just had surgery. Can you clean up your mouth? If you're going to divorce him, then just do it already. Stop wasting Leo's time. James crushed his cigarette, his brow slowly knitting together. Surgery. What surgery? Sam rolled his eyes. You were with Leo for 3 years and you're asking me? What other surgery could it be besides having his omega gland removed? Do you have any idea how much he suffered because of that gland? And you were always biting him. I swear you alphas only think with your dicks. It's disgusting. Seeing the situation spiraling out of control, I quickly grabbed an already red-faced Sam and whispered in his ear, my incision hurts again. I want to go home and rest. Don't fight with him. With that, I tried to pull Sam away. James took 2 large strides and blocked my path. Explain yourself before you go. James, we're not going to have anything to do with each other anymore. Whether I explain it or not doesn't really matter, does it? I gave him my usual practice smile. I don't want to talk about the past. We're both about to have a fresh start. Very soon. Let's just end it here. I walked a long way away. When I subconsciously looked back, James was still standing in the same spot. He looked like a silent, black statue, appearing somewhat lonely in the dead of winter when all the plants had withered. Strange. The sun was shining so brightly. How could he look lonely? That word doesn't really fit James anyway. Or so I thought. I was in such a rush that day that I forgot to talk to James about a date for the divorce. My exams were getting close, and I couldn't help but contact him again. I called him. There was a moment of silence on the other end. Then a quiet voice said, "Wait for me at home. I'll come to you." To be honest, I didn't really want to see James again. But he hung up right after saying that, giving me no chance to refuse. So I had to change out of my pajamas and sit bolt upright in the living room, waiting for him. I felt like a vendor waiting for a client to grace them with their presence. A client who was always late. The drive from the Hall estate to my place was 20 minutes at most. But it had been almost an hour, and there was still no sign of him. Just as I was starting to suspect James had stood me up, there was a knock on the door. I opened it and my eyes widened. Is it raining outside? Yeah. James seemed completely unfazed by how drenched he was. Forgot to check the weather. Didn't bring an umbrella. I had to turn around and grab a towel from the bathroom for him. So, when are we going to get D? James cut me off. Why didn't you say anything? Say what? Why didn't you say anything about your gland? I thought, you had a secondary presentation as an omega, that's why. From the look on his face, I knew he must have investigated the whole thing thoroughly after leaving the hospital that day. But his investigation came a little too late. Still, at this point, there was nothing I couldn't be honest about. I couldn't say anything, I said with a shrug. You know, I married you with an agenda. How could I tell you something like that? If I told you, how would I have tricked you? James's expression turned ugly. You could have told me. I could have helped you. You'd rather betray our friendship? Tell you what? I asked calmly. Tell you that my mother was mentally ill and that my own father had her committed? Tell you that my dad was cheating on her and had an illegitimate son who's older than me? Tell you that I was miserable and needed your help? And then what? We were just friends, James. Friends can't share everything. So you'd rather betray me? Yeah, I admitted. I was wrong. But now I've done the most I can to make it up to you. I wish you a future of freedom, James. Let's get the divorce tomorrow. After that, we probably won't see each other again. I wish you peace and happiness. I got up to find an umbrella for him. It's raining. You can have this. James's expression cracked. You? After all this, you're still telling me to leave? I was confused. What else? Fine. Just fine. James snatched the umbrella from my hand. Freedom? Peace? Happiness? Just get the divorce. All this empty talk sounds so fake, you know. You've always resented me, haven't you, Leo? You don't actually like me. I can tell. I froze for a second. The door slammed shut in my face. A moment later, the absurdity of it all hit me. He hadn't figured out anything, and the one thing he thought he'd figured out was wrong. Of course I liked him. He was the one who didn't like me, and now he was trying to turn it all around on me. It was completely irrational. The next morning, I drove to the Hall estate and called James 3 times from downstairs. No one picked up. James's terrible habit of not answering his phone was starting to get on my nerves. I suppressed my irritation and walked into the estate, planning to go up and find him. Luckily, neither the butler nor the staff at the main gate stopped me. The bedroom was unlocked, so I just pushed the door open. James was lying in bed with a cooling patch on his forehead. A thermometer sat on the nightstand. A fever? The anger inside me strangely subsided, replaced by a wave of guilt. He got caught in the rain yesterday, his clothes were soaked, and I still sent him home like that, but he's a big alpha. How can his body be so delicate? I walked closer to him, wanting to check his temperature again. Suddenly, the alpha's eyes snapped open, and he grabbed my wrist. Leo! Good morning. When are we getting divorced? James's grip on my wrist loosened. He looked up at the ceiling, as if he'd lost the will to live. Leo, I have a fever. Yeah, I can see that. And I'm in my rut. Oh, huh? After my gland was removed, I couldn't smell pheromones anymore. Sorry, I'm a beta now. So, can you please not be so cruel? My eyes widened. What did I do? Okay, I guess since I'm a beta who doesn't have ruts or heats, parading around in front of him is pretty cruel. And pushing a sick alpha to get a divorce is also pretty cruel. Then just contact me when you're better. Get well soon. I got up to leave, but a strong tug on the corner of my shirt stopped me. Why? Even though you're a beta now, can I still smell your scent? He sat up and slowly moved closer to me. It makes me want to bite. Hey, I said, quickly pushing James away. It's all in your head. I'm not an omega anymore. Do I have to be an omega? If an alpha doesn't bite an omega, are they going to bite a beta? I never liked omegas in the first place, James muttered. I've never liked them. He let go of my shirt. Sorry, I'm a little out of it. No, it's fine. On a whim, I asked him, so what do you like? James didn't answer. He just lay back down as if he hadn't heard me. It seems my father was wrong from the very beginning. He didn't even know James's preferences. How could he possibly have expected to win him over? What a disaster. As I was closing the door, I saw James look over at me, his lips moving. From the shape, it looked like he was saying, I like, but I couldn't see what he liked. It doesn't matter anymore, I thought. Whatever it is, it has nothing to do with me. James's sickness came on strong and lasted a long time. Every time I went to see him about the divorce, I'd find him lying weakly in bed, looking completely unable to get up. But my flight to Fairview was already booked for noon tomorrow. Before I left, I mailed a copy of the divorce agreement to the Hall estate. To be honest, I'd noticed over the past few days, James didn't seem to want to get a divorce, but I had no idea why. Couldn't be that he wanted revenge, right? Because I tied him down with marriage for 3 years, he wanted to get back at me. I had to laugh at my own dark thought. James would never be that kind of person. James, he would never do something so unreasonable or sneaky. Even if he was in the wrong, he wouldn't chase someone down to apologize. He'd just be stubbornly proud. That was the real James. Dear passengers, the flight from Auden City to Fairview is now boarding. I stood up, ready to get in line at the gate. But a large, dark figure blocked my path. I looked up. Who else could it be but James? You're leaving? Where are you going? Why so suddenly? Why didn't you tell me? His rapid-fire questions left me a bit dazed. I told you a long time ago. In that text message, I'd already told him I was leaving Auden City. I thought James knew. So what did it mean for him to chase me here like this? Wasn't he still sick? Whatever it is, let's talk on the phone later. I have to get to my gate. Don't go. James's chest was heaving. Maybe because his fever hadn't broken, his eyes were even red-rimmed. Please don't go, Leo. Why don't you want me to go? Because More and more travelers were starting to gather around to watch the show. The boarding time was about to end. I was getting anxious and tried to pull my hand away. The plane is about to take off. Stop holding me. Because I love you. It felt like a small hammer had tapped my heart. Completely out of the blue. Completely unexpected. After saying it, James's tight grip on my hand slowly loosened. Please don't go. His voice was very quiet, but it was more than loud enough to reach my ears. For a full 30 seconds, we just stood there, facing each other, not saying a word. James was waiting for my reaction, and I had no idea how to react. I opened my mouth. Just as I was about to say something, someone bumped into my shoulder without warning. The Fairview flight is about to leave. 5 minutes left. Yeah, I'm heading there now. The person was on the phone and turned back to apologize to me quickly. Sorry, man, didn't mean to. Rushing for a flight. I glanced down at my boarding pass. In an instant, I made my decision. Our love is on different time zones. He froze. What does that mean? We're not meant to be, James. In the end, I got on the plane. My relationship with James felt like a swamp. The deeper I waded in, the more stuck I became, unable to pull myself out. When James said he loved me, I actually wanted to laugh a little. He had been so cruel to me in the past, so disgusted by me. All I could do was hide my secret crush, unwilling to let it be discovered. Now he was starting to open up to me, to bare his heart. But I had decided to give up and start my own life. A life without James. So I said it. We really weren't meant to be. When I loved him, he hated me. When I decided to let go, he said he loved me. So yeah, our love is on different time zones, and I'm just not meant for happiness. The roar of the plane as it took off drowned out the bitter ache in my heart. I was born and raised in Auden City. But coming to the northern city of Fairview, I wasn't having as hard a time adjusting as I expected. Whether it was the climate or the environment, everything here felt comfortable and liberating. My lab mates were all extremely dedicated, borderline obsessive experimenters. This week, they proposed a trip to the snowy mountains to collect biological samples and asked if I wanted to come along. To be honest, I hadn't been hiking once since coming to Fairview. Half for fun, I gladly agreed. The altitude in the mountains was much higher, and I couldn't get used to it. I felt sick for most of the way up. Luckily, our guide was very attentive. He bought me medicine, gave me oxygen, and even taught me a few exercises that were supposed to relieve headaches. Leo, you get a good night's sleep. If you still feel sick tomorrow, just take it easy. We can go get the samples. I'll definitely be fine tomorrow. When the car pulled up to our lodging, I got out with a confident swagger and flexed for them. I've been working out, you know. This is just temporary. With that, I was about to grab 2 suitcases from the trunk and haul them upstairs in one go to show them what I was made of. A pair of large, well-defined hands took one of them from me. I was annoyed. What, you don't believe I can? I looked up and met a pair of familiar, deep eyes. James. What in the world was he doing here? This was something I had never expected. No wonder the guide had been so friendly and familiar with me the whole way. Turns out he'd known James all along and had sold me out. Seeing my ex-husband again after all this time, I didn't know what expression to make. I just asked subconsciously, "Did you sign the divorce papers I sent you?" James's face twisted for a second. "No. Why not? I chased you all the way to the airport to give you my answer, and you're still asking me why not?" James muttered, "You have a block for a head." He picked up both large suitcases and started walking. I jogged to catch up. "Why are you here?" "To chase you." He was so blunt. I didn't know what to say for a moment. "You said we weren't meant to be." "Leo, I don't agree. We got along so well as friends. We should be a perfect match as lovers, too." I was at a loss for words, looking into his smiling, almond-shaped eyes. When he wasn't being sarcastic, they were actually quite charming. What kind of twisted logic is that? "I'll prove it to you." James's confident attitude made it seem like he was sure I'd fall for him. It was actually a little annoying. "I don't really want to have anything to do with you again." "You don't have to feel burdened," James said. "If you don't want to see me, I won't approach you. Just pretend I'm here on vacation. Treat me like any other tourist." Since James said that, I couldn't really say much more. But my lab mate had a sharp eye and noticed the strange vibe between James and me. That night, he started gossiping with me. "Leo, is that your ex-boyfriend?" I gave a non-committal answer. Sort of. "I thought you said you were from Auden City. He chased you all the way here? That's pretty persistent." Scumbag alpha plays with his feelings. Heartbroken beta runs away to a city thousands of miles away. And now it's time for the groveling ex to win him back. Is that it? The most important thing for you to do right now is to delete those cheesy romance apps from your phone. My lab mate pouted. "Well, if you don't like him, you know we've got your back. We'll run him out of town. Right, senior?" My senior lab mate rarely spoke, and I thought he was already asleep. But to my surprise, he grunted in agreement. I buried my face in my hands in the dark. Half laughing, half exasperated, I said, "Just don't go out of your way to provoke him. He won't do anything to me." That wasn't so much a statement of trust in James. It was more based on my understanding of him. After all, James, he was never the type to cling or pester. Giving up was only a matter of time. After a night's sleep, my discomfort had indeed subsided. I went downstairs, and the guide enthusiastically pulled me by the arm and sat me down at the dining table. "James specifically saved his portion of eggs and tea for you. You have bad altitude sickness, you need more protein." The guide heavily emphasized the word specifically. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw James's gaze shift to me. I pretended not to see and reached for a meat bun on the side. "Thanks, but I don't really like eggs." Eggs have a certain smell I've never been able to stand. Of course, James wouldn't know that. I'd never mentioned it to him. His expression clearly went blank for a second. My lab mate's eyes darted around, and then he went into full drama queen mode, hugging my arm. Leo, I love eggs. Can I have them, please? If you want them, just take them. Thanks, Leo. I knew you were the best to me. Then, with exaggerated casualness, my lab mate added, he often brings me breakfast back at the dorms, you know. I love Leo the most. James's face was expressionless, but the fist resting on the table was clenching tighter and tighter. I coughed lightly, signaling for my lab mate to tone it down. My lab mate blinked innocently at James and swallowed the egg whole. James finally couldn't take it anymore, threw his hands up, and left. James's dark mood persisted until we set out. During the half-hour drive, he didn't say a single word. When we reached our destination, my lab mates went off to collect samples, and James trailed behind me, calling my name quietly. Leo. What? I'm not dead yet. I raised an eyebrow, not understanding what he was talking about. What's that supposed to mean? I didn't sign the divorce papers you sent me, so legally, at least, we're still partners. You can't do this. Leo, you can't cheat on me. I thought James was being completely irrational. So what? Our marriage has been over in all but name for a long time. He grabbed my hand, stopping me from going to find my lab mates. He's so young, so childish. How does he know how to take care of you? If you're with him, you'll be the one taking care of him. Dude, I said, exasperated, are you saying if I was with you, you'd be the one taking care of me? I can't. James's eyes were intense and serious, with a hint of obsession. I didn't want to argue with him. Let go. Instead, James pushed his luck, pulling my hand into his pocket. My fingers, which had been frozen stiff, instantly warmed up and relaxed. Why are your hands so cold? He wouldn't care if your hands are cold, would he? I'm not cold. Let go. James wouldn't let me pull my hand away. His unreasonable behavior was infuriating. I yelled at him, let go. Almost instantly, as I shouted, the very mountainside seemed to tremble. I thought I was hallucinating from being so angry with James. But James's expression grew grim. Something's wrong. The clouds in the distance were pressing down, and the air was deathly still. As a single snowflake drifted down and melted in my palm, the guide's sharp voice suddenly pierced the air. Oh no, it's a blizzard. This was the first time I'd ever experienced anything like this. The wind, mixed with snow, whipped at us, stinging my face. James held my wrist in a death grip, practically dragging me along as we ran. Because I was slowing down, the whole group was being held back. My vision started to go black. I was gasping for air, feeling like I was about to die. I used all my strength to pull my hand free from James's. You guys go on ahead. Don't worry about me. I don't think I can make it. The world was spinning. Before my vision completely faded, I saw James rushing toward me. His face held a panic I had never seen before. I opened my eyes again. I was warm all over. James was holding me in his arms, his large coat wrapped tightly around me. He was leaning against the stone wall of a cave, his eyes half closed. Outside, the storm still raged, a swirling mass of gray and white. James. I called his name softly. He opened his eyes and looked down at me. You're awake. How are you feeling? Hungry? I still have half a chocolate bar we can eat. Why didn't you leave? I was carrying you and it was too slow, James said. Luckily, we found this cave. I told the others to go get help. Don't worry. I'll make sure you get out of this okay. That was an overly optimistic thing to say. Never mind when help might arrive in this weather. Once night fell on the mountain, the temperature would drop to terrifying lows. With no fire in the cave, the most likely outcome was that we would both freeze to death here. What are we going to do, James? I murmured, you're going to die with me. Could have just been one of us, but you had to come along for the ride. Why? I wanted to ask you the same thing. James's face was blank, his arms tightening around me. Why are you always so nonchalant about dying? Have you ever thought about what it would do to the people left behind? Even if I die here, it's my choice. Don't you dare feel sorry for me. I don't need it. James was angry. I buried my head in his chest and nuzzled him gently. I didn't mean it like that. I know. James's voice sounded hollow as it echoed from above my head. Was I too awful to you in the past? Is that why you won't give me even a single chance? No, I refuted without thinking. You were the best to me back then. Remember in school when my brother and his friends were bullying me, you stood up for me? You even offered to be my friend. I used to think how great it would be if you were my brother. Honestly, besides you, I didn't have any other friends. You were the only one who wanted to be my friend. James let out a muffled laugh. I thought, this beta is so cute, and he looks so pitiful when he cries. You used to cry on the balcony every night, thinking you were being quiet, but I'm a light sleeper. You woke me up every single time. You were messing with my sleep. Of course I had to help you, and the more I looked at you, the cuter you got. You're still cute now. I couldn't resist a bit of dark humor. I won't be cute when I'm dead. Don't say that. We're both going to live. Even if I die, I'll make sure you live. I felt myself drifting off. James wasn't a talkative person, but he just kept talking and talking, trying to keep me from closing my eyes. I didn't know if I would ever wake up again if I fell asleep now. I was woken by a roaring sound from outside the cave. A blinding white light made my eyes ache, and tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. Outside, the sky was a clear, brilliant blue. There was a weight on my body. I looked down. James had given me his sweater and his coat. He was lying beside me, his dark hair falling across his forehead, his face ashen. He looked like a sleeping Snow White, almost as if he were already gone. My fingers started to tremble uncontrollably. Just as I was about to reach for his nose to check for breath, I heard a familiar voice from outside the cave. Leo. Leo, are you okay? My lab mate rushed over and hugged me. His eyes fell on James, and his face changed. I don't know. Kai, help me. Help me check. I can't look. Help me. I was shaking all over. Don't panic, senior. The doctors are here. Another group of people rushed in, expertly setting up their equipment. He's still breathing. Get him to the hospital now. Quick. Did you hear that, senior? The doctor said he's okay. Don't worry. Get up, you need to go to the hospital too. I broke down, sobbing. Don't pay me back with your death, James. Don't leave me with nothing all over again. James had caught a severe chill in the cave, and the aftereffects were much worse for him than for me. By the time I was fully recovered, he was still confined to a hospital bed, drifting in and out of consciousness. One day, I came back from the lab to check on James, as usual. I found him staring out the window. The long winter was finally over, and the magnolia tree outside had a few buds. I knocked on the door. When he saw it was me, his expression softened. You're here. Yeah. How are you feeling today? I'm fine. The doctor said I should be able to go home in about a week. That's good. James was quiet for a moment, then he suddenly said, that day in the cave we talked about a lot of things, but I forgot to mention one thing. What? To apologize to you. I'm sorry, Leo. I misunderstood you. I didn't trust you. I resented you all on my own, and I said so many horrible things. I never even took the time to find out the truth. I'm sorry. The truth is, I think I've loved you for a long time. A long time ago, I knew that even when I resented you, I'd still feel a pang of sympathy seeing your rain-soaked eyes. Our love wasn't on different time zones. It was on the same timeline all along. I was just too awful, and that's why we kept missing each other. I'm willing to spend the rest of my life making it up to. You don't have to, I interrupted. You really don't, James. Now we're even. James froze. His lips trembled slightly, and finally he managed to force out a few hoarse words. Yeah. We're even. I had betrayed him, and he had been cruel to me. In that snow-covered mountain, the moment he chose not to abandon me, I had already forgiven him for everything. That's why I said we were even. There was no need for one of us to compensate the other. Grandpa said the family had made chicken soup for James today. I figured the housekeeper would be arriving with it soon. I picked up the thermos and walked back toward the hospital room. Standing outside the door, I heard a sound from inside, like a kettle boiling, and it seemed to be coming from James. Why was he crying? What was this all about? Confused, I pushed the door open and set the thermos on the nightstand. What happened? I was gone for 2 seconds to get you food, and now you're crying? Hearing my voice, James flinched. Didn't you leave? Where would I go? You said we were even. His eyes were incredibly red. I thought, you meant we were completely over. I said we're even, meaning we have a chance to start over. I wiped his tears, feeling a mix of amusement and tenderness. What did you think? I stood up and, with a sense of ceremony, held out my hand to him. Hi, James Hall. It's nice to meet you again. My name is Leo. Will you be my boyfriend? James grabbed my hand and held it tight. I will.